And we are live. I did something I don't normally do. I dove into my seat seconds before the live. I realized I left my Dr. Pepper in the hallway while the intro was playing. I thought, oh man, I can do this. So anyway, who all is here tonight? This is One-Eyed Cat with Second After Lars, Dan E. Boyd, Unfinished Project Says Dark Sport. The One-Eyed Cat is here, 6th Street Garage, mostly old parts Ron Ward, the voice of the AHRA No Name Nationals, JB's Little Shop, Mohawk 62, 38 Racing. You came up in conversation today because you delivered transmission to me. Lars and I were talking about that. Matthew is here. Mama M to the third power, a.k.a. Colleen Tebow. My Aunt Nancy is here. Aunt Nancy, she made me a homemade lemon pie here a few days ago, and I just ate the last piece of it today. It's delicious. Frizzell Racing is here. Junkyard D, Pure Pontiac Garage. Crystal Kilgore. How is everyone? Been kind of a wild, busy day. I've been watching, I saw a little bit where the CTC Auto Ranch, 3,000 classic cars are getting crushed down in Texas. And the top comment under the video was exactly what I suspected, because when I looked at the video of the yard, nothing had hardly been sold off these cars, all kinds of good rust-free stuff there. I'm like, well, there's got to be something wrong with the owner, because it's clearly not the stuff that he has. And the comment said, you can't do any business with them. They won't ever sell you anything. They quote these really high prices. You just can't work with them. Nobody ever buys anything from them. So it just sat there until, I don't know, I guess people died or something, and then they just crushed it all. How sad. But I was watching that. I know a junkyard down in North Carolina that has some old Mopars in it. Nothing super valuable, but some really cool stuff, especially a lot of old A-bodies in there. Just a little small one. And I asked him, I said, so what's the deal with that? He said, no, I don't sell any parts off of them. They're just going to sit there to die, and then my son can do whatever he wants with them. So they're just sitting there outside, running down. I got pictures of it somewhere. But wherever. Oh, Nancy says, more lemon pie anytime. I'm going to wait a while after that one. It was really good, but they're too good. You can eat too much of that in a hurry. Homemade from scratch. Yes, they are delicious. A moment of silence for the flattened cars. Yeah, if you hadn't seen that video, it was CTC Auto Ranch, I think's the name of it, and they smashed like 3,000 cars. And I mean, to look at them, a lot of them hardly had any parts sold off of them. They just, the commenter said you can't do any business with them. They're just too difficult. Rather than sell something cheap, they would rather crush it. Yeah. Frizzell says, stuff had been listed for sale at that yard for over a year and it just wasn't selling. Well, anything would sell if they price it right. I mean, that's clearly, they clearly wanted too much for it. Because I saw all kinds of stuff that said, man, that's worth going to Texas for if you don't have to pay an astronomical price. Twisted Mopar Garage Dennis is here. Howdy. I am working out some of my future interview style live streams. This time of year has been really difficult for me to play. And, I was doing my live from Bluefield last week, and I'll be going back there tomorrow. So, it's just been really hard. But I'm going to get some set on the calendar in stone for May, and those will be cool and different. But tonight, it's just freestyle with the folks who are here. And we don't have but 30 people in the house tonight, which is good, which is fine. That's a great crowd. But I'd say more people will have a life on Friday than what I do anyway. Unfinished Project says, I'm the same way. My junk is gold. I get it. But when you have 3,000 cars and it's supposed to be a business, that's different. I mean, I'd a whole lot rather giving away some of that great stuff than just crush it. I noticed, too, that he had a whole bunch of real solid 70s Chevy wagons there, which tells me that he prices them so that the demo derby guys won't touch them, which is fine. But now look where they are. They're just crushed. I skimmed through a 30-minute video on it, and this is rough. Dean says 29 and a half, but don't like to argue. Lars and I were talking about people who argue today. 99% of the stuff that people argue about never needs to be argued about at all. Because 99% of the time, arguments don't solve anything or change anyone's mind. So, anyway, it's interesting. I talk more philosophical stuff with Lars than anybody. We were talking about that. Twisted Dennis says, I crushed my 64 a couple weeks ago. What happened there? Blue Grit says, hey, watching you on my phone. Boy, are you small. What kind of phone do you have? Clearly not a Samsung Galaxy. Pure Pontiac wants it to be illegal to crush anything 75 and down. Dean says, that's what my adoptive dad said. I never listened to him, though. Well, good thing he didn't listen to people who told him he shouldn't adopt, right? 38 says, that yard crushing out is something I won't spend my time watching, kind of like Whistling Diesel. I watched just to see what was going on because I'd heard about it. So I wasn't sitting there watching the destruction. I was just looking at how the yard is disappearing, and there was a guy trying to buy some parts, and just truck after truck rolling out of there with flattened loads of cars. No, I don't watch the Whistling Diesel stuff either. I mean, some of it's fun and games, but especially when you buy like a newer car and crush it, the people that wear the Supreme hats and stuff, that crowd can get all bent out of shape over crushing a brand new Mercedes G-Wagon. Okay, whatever on that. When you go find a Model T Ford that's over 100 years old and just crush that for fun and just wad it up for an episode, I mean, there's a century of automotive history thrown in the trash so that he can get clicks of money. And so that's when I unsubscribed from him. He was entertaining. I didn't care for some of that stuff, but to me, that was just, I'm like, nope, I'm out. And one of his videos is one of my favorite on all of YouTube, when he took the monster truck into the Gulf of Mexico. I thought that was a wonderfully well done video, the production of it and the flow of it and everything. But, taking century old automotive history and just trashing it for a video, not okay. And these guys even on my wall here with Austin. That may need to get remodeled out. That may need to get upgraded. You never know. It's like 43.0000 to 4 decimal places. I don't even know what that means. But okay. Glad you're that accurate. Two Hacks Garage. Jeff is here. How's it going? Even Jeff winged in here on a Friday. It's good to see him. It's a very important number in NASCAR. How do you guys like how NASCAR has moved the number forward on the doors, like up to the front fender? I do not like that. They did that to make more room for sponsors on the door and quarter panel area. I don't like it at all. I like the number on the driver's door. Twisted Mopar Dennis says, there's a place close to me that was a garage for decades, and the owner passed away, had several Mopars, a couple of nice Dodge trucks and tractors. Brought the crusher in. You couldn't buy anything. Guess he wanted to die with everything. Most of the old Partron Ward says, waiting for Dylan Levi to crawl out from under his Laguna and join us. The guy's amazing energy. Easier than dealing with the public. Had a 62 Bel Air wagon for sale for $300 for a year. Everyone wants to save it, but no one wants to pay for it. Well, that is true. That is true. Nobody wants to pay for stuff. But I mean, I'll tell you that a lot of that stuff could have found a home. But you're right, though. The public, 90% of the public is hard to deal with. I mean, that is true. That is true. Although I think that marketed properly with some good giveaways and stuff like that and social media, I think they could have done a lot of stuff to at least give the cars homes, and it would have worked out okay. Dust Devil Brian is here. Heavens Mopar Scott, howdy. Thank you guys for dropping in. Twisted Mopar said, I tried selling the dart. Nobody ever called about it. Not one call. Amazing, but not desirable. What kind of dart was it? Danny Boyd says, way more dreamers and tire kickers out there today. Yes, there are. This, you see this, Dan, right here. Doing is greater than dreaming. I put that there for a reason. And that's why there's a whole lot of people that are never going to make it to the No Name Nationals. Because they're not goal-oriented. They just like to pretend like it. But you guys here, you are the guys who do show up. You're not those guys. So we would get a bigger audience if we would lower our standards. Kim Fixes Things. Howdy. Unfinished Project said, I never saw the ad. Well, that's true. If Unfinished Project didn't see your ad, it was hidden pretty good or it was in another language. Mostly Old Parts Wrong Ward says, do you do any home repairs? Unfortunately. What's the best way to hammer a nail into 100-year-old dimensional 2x4s? I keep bending nails. Well, the best way to do it is throw the nails away and get screws and run them in with your drill. I mean, I don't use nails. I use them to put down roofing film. I uploaded a new driver for my camera and it still stuttered on me. But yeah, I don't use nails for much of anything. 38 Racing says, I see so many people post that someone should save those cars. Yeah, okay. So I have a list of things that should never have been invented. And on my list is the phrase, somebody do something. That's a stupid phrase because it means I want a result and I am not willing to be part of that outcome. I have no use for it. Yep, totally agree. Perhaps y'all should be better sellers. I don't know. He said it was on Marketplace and 10 other Mopar sites. I'm shocked Unfinished Project wouldn't have seen it on Marketplace. Nails are greater than screws for some things. 1% of things. I mean, siding. Okay, I can get that. Depends on application. Nails will bend, screws will break. Right. You can always find exceptions to the rules, but if I'm dealing with lumber like that and framing, I just run in deck screws and never worry about it again. Buff Del Campo says, I'm here too. Howdy. Thanks for joining us, Buff. I don't like nails for much of anything, though. I've been doing floors. If I can find this floor picture for you. If I can remember what day I did it. It's last week. I've got a big water damage mess that I'm fixing. You guys might have seen my my demolition short. There's part of it. I mean, they glue the floors down in these double wides that I'm working on, and you have a whole bunch of nails in there, and you got to get all of them out of the joists, and you got to clear off all that glue and stuff. And that's been coming up pretty good, but it's just real time consuming. And then when I'm done with all that, I go back under there and take care of all the insulation. It's just a huge mess. So I work on the little thin piece and put down the big piece. It's been a real pain. Get a nail gun? I could. I don't know. Dean says it was great. You took a hatchet to a hatchet job. That's actually a split and maul. And it is perfect for taking out that kind of flooring. It is just perfect. It's not sharp like an axe or anything, so it doesn't hurt anything. But it's got just enough of an edge on it that you can really break through that garbage flooring. It's just perfect. If I could change anything, I would, instead of being, I don't know what it is, like an 8-pounder, I'd make it about a 5-pounder, so it's a little friendlier to swing with one hand, and then put a shorter handle on it. I think it'd be just perfect. But it's great. And in fact, it's dull enough that it won't slice through the flooring. it'll still break it up though. So you can get right near the edge of the joist and hit it just right, and it'll sometimes pry the flooring up at the nails, which is great because then you can get behind it with a pry bar and pull it off in a clean piece. Save some cleanup. Danny Boyd says, put a rubber roofing membrane under the trailer. It needs it. It needs vapor barrier. It's an old rental property that I bought a long time ago. It got some storm damage to the roof and some water damage, and now we're dealing with it. Some of us have to learn the hard way. Oh yeah. Ron says, crushing perfectly good parts cars only increases the prices of parts in the collectible car market. Well, for those of you that have them cornered, I see Rockstar Lars is here. Howdy. How's it going? Distributor of fine hotel, office, and restaurant supplies. Yeah, I'm going to get that done and straightened up. And the more I work on that place, the more I realize those things are a pain. They're just not built like houses. And it's 49 years old. So I think I'm going to get it really nice, truly nice, and then sell it. If I thought I could get a renter that was any good, I'd probably keep it. But that's been a terrible area for tenants. Got thieves across the street too, well documented thieves. I mean, but they said the cops are there all the time. And there's a big trailer that came in there one night and was gone early in the morning. About an hour later, the police were rolling in there. It's hard area to deal with, and you wouldn't think so. It looks really nice, a nice neighborhood, but it's just the way it is. Let's see here. I just mowed that place. Bought bell pepper, made some pasta. Show you that too here in a minute. And rolled a Yahtzee, playing Yahtzee with my aunt. Let's see, where is that? There's where I had to. Oh, so this was good. I need to put this on the channel. I had a flat tire on the trailer and it was just leaking air through 3 little spots. No nails, nothing in them, just seeping air. And these were Chinese Kenda tires on this trailer, a couple years old. I put tubes in both of them because I'd never had any peace of mind. I could have streamed that tire repair from the shop and did it in a big bench vise. But anyway, none of that's what I'm looking for. This is what I was looking for. This is the yard of that place. It's got a huge yard. It's a lot to keep mowed too. If the place was closer to where I actually live, I would love to keep that lot right there and put a garage on it. But you know how if is. If is whatever. If doesn't matter. But this is what I did for dinner. So I went and got my pepper. Started with all that. Made some rigatoni, some sauce, cut up a bell pepper, turkey pepperoni, bunch of old freezer-dried mozzarella cheese. Put 4 layers of that on there. Turned out pretty good. I ate some of it today. Yeah, it turned out all right. That's a whole weekend worth of food right there. I got $3.98 in it. Anyway, enough of that uninteresting stuff. Where are we? Evans Mopar says, my forehead doesn't like stray nails from a framing nail gun. Been there and done that. Oh, yeah, Scott's all about not getting hit with shrapnel. I get more nervous using a circular saw than anything else. More than a chainsaw, anything. Circular saw is the scariest tool there is to me. Nail guns make me nervous. Yeah, my buddy Ben rebuilds those things, and he's got boards, just are total beds of nails where he tests them. 38 Racing says, I don't send anything to scrap till the bones are stripped clean, and I don't need the bones. Right. I'm that way too. What's up, suckers? Says Slant Daily Garage. How's it going? Ron wants a 45 caliber nail gun. Yeah, that'd be something right there. That'd be something to hold on to. Junkyard D says nail guns don't nail people. People do. Yeah, that's correct. Next time I see a banned nail guns rally somewhere, I'll make sure to mention that. T's Good Time Garage. Howdy. How's it going? I hope we will see T back at the No Name Nationals, flexing his bracket racing magnificence again. Mostly Old Parts Wrong Ward asks Professor P. Shane, are you lurking tonight, or are you here to engage your fans and groupies? Yes, Lars, if your aunt. That is correct. If is the biggest word in the dictionary. Slant Daily Garage says both, I guess. I've finished my videos and ready for the drive tomorrow. Cool. Had a little ground beef. I thought about it, but I just doing this kind of lazy. I got it's turkey pepperoni. Turned out great. It actually is really good. I even thought about doing it like with some like sausage, cutting up the links. Thought I might try that next time. Leftovers, I live off of it. When you think about it, when it's just you, see, I'm just cooking for me. So 90% of what I eat is leftovers. I don't cook every time. So I cook that pan. I can eat on that for days. So I don't make anything that doesn't make good leftovers. Frizzell spent the day organizing all my new parts books. Yep. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, Frizzell has gotten a great collection of parts books. Danny Boyd's circular saw accident was cutting through the cord. Yeah, that could happen. I remember there was a guy that was trimming the shrubs in front of our office one day, and he cut through the cord with his hedge trimmer. And he asks me, hey, can I borrow a cord? I cut through my cord. I said, sure. I got him a cord, gave it to him, went back to work, go to leave for the day. He was finishing up, and he said, yeah, I had to quit early. He said, I cut through both cords. I said, you cut through both cords? I said, well, let me take them. I'll fix them. He saw through them both away. My gosh. Same guy we sold him a house. Of course, it got foreclosed. I would imagine most of his business decisions are just like that. Crystal Gilmore says, nail gun 8 feet up in the air, spread eagle on a double pin I was building. That was fun. It freaked out the neighbors. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, that sounds like a Crystal Kilgore comment. It wouldn't have even had to have the name for me to know that was yours. Mrs. One-Eyed Cat is here. Howdy. Bad Tree Blake says, heathens assemble. Howdy. Good to see you, Mr. Blake. One-Eyed Cat Don says, Wendy cooks like the kids still live here sometimes. Yeah, cool. I'll cook up leftovers, not even a first-run meal. Well, but then it's first run, right? Table saws make me nervous. Oh, gosh, I wouldn't have one of those things. But I'll tell you what, though. It sure would be nice to have a chop saw. I'll do the circular saw for cutting all these boards, but a chop saw would be pretty nice. But it's not really worth it. I don't have enough to really have to fool with it. And you kind of have to use circular saw for ripping sheets of plywood. Either that or a Dremel an entire day. Drape the cord over your shoulder. I get it out of the way. I don't put it on my shoulder, but I get it out of the way. I've never cut a cord with a saw. Not yet, anyway. All these reformed Mopar guys, reformed. That doesn't happen. I would have checked the dumpster. He probably didn't cut it and kept it. Could have, but I kind of doubt it because he was trucking along on the shrubs and had one he didn't do. So I do tend to believe he cut the cord. And he was, anyway. Yeah. Did the guy that cut the cords have a 57 by chance? No, he was more functional than the guy with the 57. Yeah. No, he didn't have a 57, folks. Yeah, we got 4 people registering for the No Name Nationals. We do. We got our people who jump in early and then our rest that trickle in throughout the year. Yeah, I want 150 people to register by Memorial Day, but we have the same group that registers early and then a whole bunch more that just wait till the end. And they come every year and they still wait until the last week. And I'm like, you don't realize the limb that's going out on just over that. But, oh, well, it is what it is. Glad to have them. We usually have about 110, 20, something like that. Me too, Shane. What can I say? I will say this, though. If in a year, that we say, well, budget's not feasible, they can, you got to, don't take it up with me. Take it up with the people who waited until September 15th to register, especially ones that they know they're coming. .38 says I registered twice. Yeah. Well, he didn't register twice. He just registered his second car. The track Wi-Fi was something that was so underutilized and it was so hard to get consistently throughout the property. I just said, forget it for the third year. It's always been a mess. There's a few people who like it, but the problem is trying to get that to where it works across the property is a nightmare. We would try to put those, mesh network in and the high spots and everything. And you go out there and test with it on, say, Wednesday and have a clear line of sight and have good Wi-Fi in the burnout pit. And then by the time everybody gets in there, your signal's all wonky. So anyway, just the way it goes. Blue Grit Garage said, I ordered some Edelbrock goodies using the No Name Nationals discount from Alex this morning. Well, cool. Yeah, I mean, gosh, one order pays for your registration. I see Wrong English is in here. Thanks for dropping in. Yeah, we know what Blake did. I think you guys had one of the mesh networks in your trailer, if I recall. Yeah, that was pretty good. We may bring it back. One thing that would be a big help would probably be if we could up the infrastructure over there. So it's something I got to talk with Possum about. It's the only event where anybody cares about it. Worked pretty good. Yep. Oh, yeah. The NSB guys had a spot. I think you guys did. Dean Stevenson asks if Ron is Chinese. I've heard 1 in 5 people in a family are. It could be. Could be. I know there are over 1 billion Chinese people, and there's about 7.5 billion people in the world. So actually, that's probably correct by now. 1 in 5, 20%. That's probably about right. I know over there's a huge adoption market surplus of girls. They just want to control their population, and they just export them. It's terrible. That's just how the Chinese operate. So people who have that kind of ethic, you got to wonder, about the stuff that comes here from there. J-Bo says, just made it. The Chinese government's a scary operation. Battery Blake says, no excuses for being late, J-Bo. Hey, J-Bo runs in on J-Bo time. See, J-Bo's got his late model vehicle in the thumbnail there. We were digging for old bottles behind Blake's. What did you find? Speaking of that, old bottles, a friend of mine was doing some porch renovation, and he found this under his porch when he took the boards up. Apparently, I mean, he bought the place in 08, so I know that stuff's been there for a lot longer. It's been there at least that long and longer. Blake was looking for mushrooms and found a bottle spill out the side of the hill. Nothing that old yet, one cork top. Well, cork top's probably pretty old. I don't know who put all those under my buddy's porch. I don't even know how they got there. Old McDonald said the rats like Pepsi. Maybe. I'm surprised Pepsi is still a thing, actually. It's possibly my least favorite soft drink. Danny Boyd said, I checked in the incinerator here, found phone bill stubs from 1970 in an old Fresca bottle. Right on. Phone bill stubs. Do you recognize any of the numbers or anything? Diecast Dreams Vic is here. Said he had a rough day. I believe he was. Did you ever get your jump start? Are you still looking for jump start? Dakota's timeout is here. Hello, Dakota. Danny Boyd says, I couldn't recognize any numbers, couldn't find anything on that guy because his name was too common. James Morgan. Also, you even know who's that phone bill that was, right? Did it look like the phone bill from No Country for Old Men from 1980 or whatever? It's probably what it would have looked like. Wrecked your day. What all did it make you late for? Old McDonald said, I think Coke tastes better when it was in glass bottles, made your mouth pucker. Well, I think they made it with real sugar then, too. J-Bo said, Uncle Ty will occasionally buy a bottle of RC Cola. He feels bad. You know, I didn't know RC was still a thing. The RC bottling place in Bluefield is unrecognizable now. It's a church. Like they needed any more number of churches there, but that's what it is now. One-Eyed Cat's reminding Dakota that registration is open. And he wants a race. Turbo Tom said, my son keeps Pepsi in profit. Yep. Some people are Pepsi drinkers. I know someone that drinks 4, 5, 6 a day to stay awake. Danny Boyd says Royal Crown equals rich people's cola. Okay. J-Bo says, I wish they'd bring back New Coke. Why? Dick says, cleaning up the fire. I feel like I have to do something. Yeah, that'd be a good thing to do. I mean, I'm not getting paid to do those floors in that awful place, but it's got to get done. It's not the only way it's getting done is if I do it. So I'm going back tomorrow for another round of it. Bad Tree says, I quit drinking Coors Light, energy drinks, and soda. What'd you replace it with? Because I went and got water yesterday. I get water. I got 11 jugs of it because that's all they had. It was almost out. So I got 88 pounds of water. Drink one of those every day. Rabbit Transit J is here. Howdy. Thanks for coming by. J-Bo likes New Coke because it tastes like Pepsi. One-Eyed Cat said, I wish A&W would bring back the drive-in. No kidding. Danny Boyd says, you don't get paid for that work until you collect rent on it or sell the building. Well, this is true. Now just water and Michelob Ultra. Okay. Mohawk says I could go for a frosty mug of A&W. Yeah, I'll get a root beer a couple times a year. I think they're interesting. And it reminds me, well, I only drink it a couple times a year. Wrong English says a friend of mine drinks 4 to 5 Red Bulls a day plus Pepsi on top of that. Has to be tearing his insides apart. I don't know. 2.6 carbs per can. With salted caramel ice cream, old McDonald said. Sounds good. Dakota says, they say, whoever they is, Donald Trump drinks 12 Diet Cokes a day. I can believe that. I'm drinking too many of these since the weather just got hot, but I'll get away from that. I'm only drinking one a day in the winter. Danny Boyd says, I'll deal with the calories and drink non-diet soda. Yeah, more power to you. It's better. It's better, but I don't want the sugar. Dean Stevenson said, I would have to eat a whole thermoquad to match that. Yeah, and you know what? The regular soda is way too sweet. I don't know how. I know people who will get a large sweet tea and fast food food. How many ounces is that? Aren't they like 32 ounces, 40 ounces, some of them? And they'll have that entire cup full of sweet tea. I mean, there's probably 800 calories of sugar in that cup alone. And it just got to taste like syrup. You can't taste anything but sugar. I mean, when I make tea at a place like that, I'll put about 80% of the cup is unsweet and just 20% sweet, maybe. That's all it needs. And it tastes plenty sweet with that. Aspartame will get you, might as well drink the real stuff. Do you know that most people who tell me how bad aspartame is, they all smoke? I've never figured that one out. Most people who say that, they do. Aspartame's a plant killer. It's in diet soda, right? Cherry Pepsi. Well, there's an obscure one. I wonder if I had anything more on here to show you guys. I was looking for a picture of my garden. Couldn't find it. I had a garden a few years back. Haven't had one in a while. Now I got a roach runner sitting there. Dakota's too cheap to smoke. Yeah, we know that. Well, that's a good thing. Blue Brick Garage Walker says, Anna and I brought a 66 Mustang to the last No Name Nationals. She wants to bring her 67 this year. Then the 68, the 69, and the 70 after that. Okay. Sounds good. Dakota says you can buy a lot of hot rod parts for what it costs to smoke. Yes, you can. And I actually added up for a friend of mine one time what he'd spent on cigarettes in his lifetime. It just blew his mind. He said it wasn't possible. I'm like, oh no, math is right here. Buff Del Campo says his 67 is the best year Mustang. Okay. I almost bought a 94 Mustang, brand new. Dakota said, I had stuff like that for people all the time. Doesn't do any good. Well, here's the thing. I figured out one time, if you take I took this guy's cigarette budget and I said, the market average is 10.16, the return. And if you figure out how old he was when he started smoking and factor that out, and we figured till he was 55, 60, 65, and it was a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money. With how much some people smoke, it's 7 figures. Carla Gray says, the most entertaining live I've seen in a minute. Hope you're doing well. Well, I'm doing reasonably well. I'm still 98.6 and functioning. Thanks for joining us. Junkyard D said, I'd say 69 fastback to the Mustangs. Yeah, 69, I always thought it was kind of weird how it didn't have that weird front end like the 70. But it had that quarter glass like the 70. I always thought it was kind of bizarre. So to me, I thought, I'm kind of with Buff on the 67-8 Mustang. I thought looked a little better. little tougher and meaner than the 65-6, but before they went to the weirdness of the 69 and 70. Although my favorite Mustangs are the Fox bodies. I think those are great. I just think those are awesome little hot rods. Oh man, see here, this is Lars with the assist right here. I knew I had sent somebody that picture. There's my garden from. This is the last year we had Dad. If he were still alive, we'd still have a garden. Anyway, there it is. It's a good garden. Yeah, my favorite Mustangs are the Fox bodies. I like the ones like 79, 80, even those, but I like the later ones too. I think they're all good looking. I actually, the 94, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all that, the late 90s ones, those are growing on me. But I think my favorite ones were the ones before that, before they went to the squinty little headlights. So the Mustangs from the late 80s, early 90s, I think those were the best. Danny Boyd says that's about the size of the big garden here. Yeah, I don't remember how big it was, but the Roach Runner's sitting where that was now. I put up some temporary fence and stuff. It's a good garden. A lot of good stuff out of there. Dad loved working the garden, so that was just great. I did all the prep on the ground and everything and paid for everything and helped him get it going, but he did a lot working it, during the day, and it was great. Rabbit Transit J said it's very scary going 138 in a Fox body with the front sway bar disconnected. You know what? And I don't know what causes this. I had a Mustang rental car last time I was in Las Vegas, and where were we going? No, it wasn't Vegas. It was going up to Thunder Ranch. So we've been from Reno to Lakeview, Oregon, and you're out in the middle of the desert of Northern California for whatever reason. And it was right at, but between about 102 and 106, right in there. It was like right about 105. It would all of a sudden just get all loose and weird in the front end. Smooth as can be until you got to right at that speed, and then it would start wandering. I'm like, oh man, had plenty left. I kind of wanted to know how fast it would go, but it just got to acting so weird. Turn my printer on, see what comes out. Nothing apparently. Oh, wait a minute. It's going to put us good something. Nothing. That might have been a nice mystery bonus, whatever was on the printer bed, but apparently there wasn't anything. I don't even know how I did that. Evans Mopar said, I'll take a 68 or 70 Mach 1 any day. Yeah, great cars. I know a guy who had one of each. He had more than one of each. He had three of them. I think 2 69s and a 70. And he sold the 69. He may still have the 70. Most of my friends are Ford people for whatever reason. Isn't that wild? At least the ones that I knew before YouTube. I have more Mopar friends from YouTube for sure. Small garden, Gramps plants that much in potatoes. Yeah. I didn't want a garden any bigger. It was plenty. But it was great. I have a friend that grew up on a farm. And man, that guy's got a green thumb. He can grow anything. He grows stuff in his basement with lights, like these tomatoes and stuff indoors and all of that. No, he's not growing what most people grow in their basement with lights, but he just grows his garden in his basement. It's pretty wild. Does his tomato plants upside down so he doesn't have to stake them up. Dean says sometimes the TRW or Ford power steering bushes aren't properly engaged. Check that or the rag joint. Yeah, I don't know. And he's talking about that with Danny Boyd. old 82 Mustang GT understeer on a bend. Yeah, I don't know. This was a rental, but it just, at that same speed every time, it got really light in the front end and moving around. Dakota says you don't need that much of a garden for just your family. We've had a lot go to waste. Yeah, exactly. Tomatoes will overwhelm you. Yeah, I never was crazy about tomatoes just for that reason. It's very hard to get tomatoes to not get eaten by everything else. Everything else likes tomatoes too. Andrew Nelson says, good evening, gang. Howdy. Thanks for coming by. Andrew, I don't know if you were here and listening, but you'd be a good one to ask this. What would cause a car on a dead flat road to just the front end to just get really loose at the same speed every time, about 105? The front end would just start wandering. And it was a pretty new car. Probably didn't have 10,000 miles on it. Tomatoes can be a very high yield plant. Yes, they can. They can also get, all of them just get eaten too. We have a lot of deer here. Hair under the car. Well, yeah, but that just seemed like a low speed for that to be a thing. And yet these criminals that are running on police activity, can get a key up to 100 and whatever. The 69 Mustang I have is a beat and rusted Boss. It will take a bit to make it safe. After that, I have a 73 big-bodied Mach 1 and probably run the 351 Cleveland and move it from the 69, 70, and 73. Sounds like a plan, Blue Grit Walter. Andrew says as the car is going up in speed, the toe is possibly towing out. That's really freaking smart. I'd say you're right. It's lifting the front end enough that the basically the bump steer is taking it to a tow out condition. That would cause wondering. Yep, that's very smart. Dakota says my dad's Camaro gets the steering real light at about 130. It could be lowered a tad. Colleen says plant basil around your tomato plants to keep hornworms away. Walmart bags tied to bamboo rods near plants spook deer. Oh, that's weird. I've never heard that. Of course, the best defense against deer, I got this little gray, deer removal. I just turn him loose at the back door, but can't be around to police that all the time. Tow out will make it dart around. Oh, yeah, it will big time. That's a good point that he mentions that. Yeah. Sure will. I know on front-wheel drive cars, a lot of times I'll see the spec is to set the toe out a little bit on purpose because the front end wants to pull itself toward a toe-in condition. I prefer everything really tight and not do that, but that's what the specs actually call for on some of these. Whereas on a rear-wheel drive, you don't have that because the front wheels aren't pulling the car forward. Even house cats chase off deer, yeah. SRP's here. Hey, everyone. Just checking in. Good night and have a good weekend. Hey, thanks for joining us. I believe that's the SRP of RP Dynalo fame. Andrew Nelson says, I watched a Mustang make a pass, convinced the owner to tow it in 1 1/4 inches. Whoa. 1 1/4? That's a lot. You talking about 1 1/4 degrees? I mean, 1 1/4, that's kind of wild, isn't it? Mohawk says my Scamp handles better at 80 than 50 going straight. Cool. Dean says that toe problem wasn't fully fixed on the short wheelbase Foxes till 87. The big 108.4 wheelbase Foxes were better set up. They changed the lower control arm positions. Justin Hill is high, says hi, howdy. 1 1/4 inches of toe. What was it before? I mean, that's crap. I just downloaded a driver for my camera. Apparently that isn't it, why it does that buffer occasionally, but whatever. What is new? You see it. Danny Boyd says that's a race setup, so you don't go toe out under heavy braking. Okay. Ideally, you wouldn't have any toe under operating conditions, but they change. So you're trying to make your best compromise. Andrew Nelson says at speed, the car towed out enough to see the problem from the starting line. That is awful. Dean says they were trying style in scrub radius, 1 3/4 inches. Wow. Style points for that. You don't hear much about scrub radius. Justin Hill says 146. Yep, 145 days. What do we have? 3 hours and 2 minutes. Ready or not, here it comes. I've never even heard of scrub radius. Scrub radius is, if you were to draw a line through the upper and lower ball joint, your pivot point's on the front end, okay? And then you have the point where the tire touches the pavement. The scrub radius is that difference. So let's just maximize it and say that you had a wheel that had an enormous amount of offset to the front, right? And then you would have a lot of scrub radius between that line coming down between the ball joints and where the tire hits the road, because it turns around that. If you moved your wheel in and used a wheel that had a different offset, now you would be turning around a much shorter radius. It's kind of an obscure thing that you learn about when you go to school for front end alignments, but Ackerman angle, well, you hear more about that. That's for your bump steer. You do hear a lot more about that. The scrub radius is kind of obscure. I would think you would hear more about scrub radius when you're talking about like four-wheelers and off-road guys. Maybe they do more with it. I don't know. I know the Nelsons know a lot about the front-end alignment. The car continuously, the faster you go. On steel wheel combo, I'd add an extra 3/16 toe out to run 180. Well, I mean, I think what is it? It's for every degree that your toe is off. I say off, meaning off, when you're operating it. That, you know what? That makes a whole lot of sense, Andrew, because I'm thinking you're not adding toe out to go that fast. Toe in. Yeah, exactly. Because you keep, yeah, exactly. Makes sense. Adding more toe in to go really fast. Yeah, makes sense. Scrub radius measured in inches or degrees? I don't know right off. You change your scrub radius too if you go to a taller wheel, because now you've changed where that line intersects, where the wheel intersects the ground. Toe out in turns, yeah, it makes turns easier. Unfinished project said, if I didn't have to work tomorrow, we would be there. Cheesesteaks and Don could teach me the magic of slot restoration. By the way, unfinished project, Wendy thinks that Lars is you. She's had more crazy theories of who she thinks is unfinished project than anyone I've ever seen. There you go. Radius, that's a clue, inches. Yeah. Blue Grit Garage says depends front or rear steer to see where you're taking up suspension slop. Yeah. Yeah. The more I've worked with headers, the more I've come to like front steer. Unfinished projects as I am, Lars. I've had both y'all message me at the same time, so I don't know if that works unless you have a phone in your foot, a phone in your hand. I don't know how you're doing that, but whatever. Andrew Nelson says the tire is at 0 where it touches the ground. The spindle is at the car speed. The top of the tire is at 2 times the speed. It takes the energy and force to accelerate the tire. Okay. I have to ponder that one and think about it a bit. But yeah, I always learn stuff from the Nelsons. Sometimes it takes me a little bit to ponder on it. Danny Boyd says front steer toes out in reverse when you break a tie rod, and front steer toes out going forward. I was behind a car here last year and got off the off ramp on the 460 bypass there at the industrial park in Blacksburg, and we're rolling down to a stop sign, and I see the car just violently do this and then stop at the sign, and I could see from behind the car that one wheel was just turned way to one side and the car was kind of aiming toward the other, and so I pulled forward a little bit and looked, and sure enough the other wheel was like that. So that car was and broke a tire on it. At least they broke it right before they were going to stop at the sign. That's all I can say. Unfinished Project puts up the link for Contraband Bandit, aka Lars. Unfinished Project says he's not from Maryland. No, he just goes to the Greensboro Deli in Maryland. That's where they have the truck show and the Tiger Mart. Lars puts up the link for Unfinished Project. Robot Ninja Nonsense, that is correct. Andrew Nielsen says aluminum wheels require less toe in to keep stable at speed. I'm talking 150 plus. That makes perfect sense. Yeah. You don't have that big heavy weight out there. This is exactly the kind of thing Danny Boyd would know right here. My front steer Fox Mustang would drive forward with a broken tie rod, and my rear steer Corolla would drive in reverse with a broken tie rod. That's exactly like something he would know. And this is like something Ray would know. If you have enough power, a tornado will go full toe in under acceleration. Yeah. Carter Grace asks, have you been working on any heads recently? I haven't. I'm sure some of these guys have been doing like, valve jobs and whatnot. I have not. I really wouldn't mind having one of the old school set of valve guide sizers. I used to have a set I would use belonged to a friend of mine. It was really cool. And I don't even know what happened to that. It's kind of a thing people don't do anymore. But that was always my favorite thing to do with the old school, doing your seats and guides and, do the guide and have to size it and trim it and all. I always thought that was cool. That was always fun. Put them in with the air hammer. You listen for it to change sound. I always liked doing that. Unfinished Project says, I know a 97 Chevy pickup pulls forward just fine with a broken tie rod. Who would have known that this crew would have known so much about that? Danny Boyd says, Jaws drove 17. Who? Jaws who? Dean Stevenson says 17 cars, my favorite number. It's funny, actually. DW. Darrell Waltrip, the driver. Darrell Waltrip, the commentator. I never liked that dude on the mic at all. Not even a little bit. I remember one time. I'd forgotten about this. So we don't live far from the Martinsville Speedway. That's probably the closest NASCAR track. Bristol being a close second. I remember one time they had a rain delay at Martinsville. My dad was with me at the race, and he never could stand Darrell Waltrip on the mic. It was just the worst thing ever. He hated it. It was like hit the mute. There's a rain delay at Martinsville, and Darrell Waltrip comes out with a microphone on the front stretch and starts talking to the crowd. My dad's like, I can't get away from this guy anywhere. Danny Boyd says, I didn't like him as an announcer either. Andrew Nelson says, the reason I joined late is because we just finished an alignment to run 155 or 160 this Sunday. We're part of a fundraiser for veterans at Maple Grove, if anyone's in the area. Oh, that sounds cool. If you have like let us know what the name of that is. We'll get Lars put up a link. Bruce is here to remind me that I get grayer and grayer every time I see you on here. Hope your friends don't abandon you when you start to look distinguished. Plot twist, Bruce. I don't think anyone cares what I look like. Here, I'm gonna fix it just for Bruce. There we go. Now Bruce won't have to look at my gray hair. How about that? I remember before Bruce's hair was completely gray too. Oh, since you okay, let's see what I got here. Let's see here. I've been using this thing to get some old hard drives cleared from an old work computer, and I got some old pictures. Okay, here's an ancient picture of me. Just to prove I wasn't always, this would have been 2009. 2009. If I can do this. It wasn't always completely gray. Well, I had to, you see, Bruce said he liked it with it, the picture muted out. That's right. See? Where did I go? I can just do that and disappear for a second. I've been whited out. Carter Grace thinks I'm dead, says that's too good. Good. Bruce says I turned gray at 35. Dude, I was gray. Well, how old was I there? I'd been 32 here. About pretty close. I've asked my barber to tell me when I tip the scales. He says I'm really close. I said I'll make it gray on my driver's license. You can always use that hairspray paint. That's a big negative. Blue Gray says I went from gray to white, and Johnny's a long way to go. One thing I will say, when you guys see me on here, which is the only place you ever see me, I got these bright studio lights in, so I'm as gray as I can look. I don't look quite as gray in natural light out. I mean, it's still really gray, but here it's like everything is really washed out in here from all the light. My favorite Smash Mouth member. Wasn't that the dude who died? Harwell. Crystal Kilgore says, I'm almost all gray and not even 50 yet. I remember that. Crystal's got that hair that's just like the silver mane hair. And if you got that and it's all together and all, that's good. That works. It's when it goes so slowly and it gets, okay, when it's bad is when you got the hair like Polly Walnuts from The Sopranos. That's the worst. Hairspray paint. Gosh, Dakota, killing me. Danny Boy says, I had a beard over the winter and wanted to paint it brown and black, but couldn't find any proper hair coloring. They have every kind for women. I think hair coloring's for women anyway. I found some other ancient pictures. The problem is I don't have many from before about 2007, because that was the first year I had a phone with a camera. So here's an old one, but I got a hat on. That's from 2007. Whew. A lot lighter there. Oh my gosh, Bruce, you just took years off my life with that one. No, in the nicest way. No what? Steel blonde. Yeah, okay, that works, whatever. Dakota says, I would never paint my hair. It can turn any color at once as long as it doesn't turn loose. And I don't have as much hair as I used to. I got an ancient one on here I found, though. I found a bunch of old pictures and they're all in one spot. And no, they weren't all that old. That's 1978. But where's the one I was looking for? Anyway, I had some from my early 20s. I hardly had any gray at all. Lars puts up a link, Maple Grove Raceway, Driven to Serve, Muscle Car, Jeep Truck Show, Driven to Serve at Maple Grove. So yes, if you're there, go check it out. The Nelsons will be there. It's an event for veterans. That's cool. Yep. Lars is good like that, Andrew Nelson. Lars is the man. Crystal says, I like my gray hair. Well, cool. Cool. It's better to like what you have, than anything else. That's cool. 38 Racing says, some of us started out almost gray. I was blonde. I can find that old picture. I don't know what I did with it. Bruce says, I like mine too. What's left of it? Yeah, I don't have as much hair as I used to. I don't care. It's all good. Mohawk gets stares from kids thinking he's Santa Claus. Unfinished project asks, you mean to tell me he isn't? I was told when I was 16 years old, I had somebody sitting in front of me in class. It said I had a gray hair, single gray hair, 16. By 20, I had just a little bit in the sides. I thought I got a little gray earlier than that, but according to that picture, I was still very much brown and, thought I was about 30 anyway. We all age gracefully as ourselves. All we have is to embrace it. I don't know that we all age gracefully. I know some people who age gracefully. Aunt Nancy, I don't know if she's listening. She's usually in the chat listening. She comments at the beginning. And she wouldn't care if I say this, but she's 83 and doesn't have any gray hair. And that's for real. She doesn't dye it. She actually doesn't have any gray hair. If she's listening, she'll comment on here. 83, didn't have any gray hair. My mom didn't have any gray hair until she was, as long as she had hair, up into her 70s. Bruce said he just wanted to stop by and say hello, but I need to leave to milk my 2 elk. Thanks for sharing. Danny Boyd says, I don't do anything gracefully. That's about the truest thing uttered in here tonight. Rob's a Streetcar says, howdy, everybody. Oh, hello, Rob. Thanks for stopping by. Thumper started going gray at 26. Yep. Whatever. Gray's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Scott said, I always tell the barber, if you can cut the gray out, that would be great. No, it wouldn't, because then you'd be half bald. Upper says, but he's not bald, so there is that. So this is me with my cousin Jamie right here. My hair got gray, but his hair got gone. Guy's got a beard so thick, I don't know if you could trim it off if you wanted to. Jamie's a good dude. Hi, if you're watching. I know he might. There's a slim chance he's watching. Oh, here we go. I couldn't find it. I'd have been about 22 there. How dark my hair was. And yeah, the picture itself isn't any better than that. It's not the focus. It's the picture. The scan was terrible. There you go. One-Eyed Cat Dawn says, Wendy has been my barber forever now, this weekend even. I have had the same barber shop and same barber for my entire life. My first haircut I got in 79 when I was 2. And one of the original barbers is still there. Only one. And his last name is Hair, for real. H-A-R-E. Teddy Bear Hair. He's been cutting my hair for, oh my goodness, all these years. I'm not quite as fast on this thing as I used to be. Here it is. That's my barber. He'll be 86 in September. I've been a barber for over 60 years. And he still has a full head of hair, too. Dakota's had the same lady cut his hair his whole life, yeah. Thumper's been shaving his head since 1989 when I got to Germany. Kim Pix's thing says, freak chick hairdressers, a real thing. If you've ever watched The Hot Crazy Matrix by Dana McClendon, you need to. Hairdressers are where you find people above the crazy line. Danny Boy doesn't like nose rings either. Can't help but think, and I don't want to ever know, but I can't help but think if you had a nose ring, you just always feel like you had something in your nose. It'd just be weird to me, but people who have them like them. Crystal says, I like my nose piercing. Can confirm hairdressers in the moderate insanity category. There you go. If you've not seen this video, you need to. It may be the greatest video on YouTube. It's by our friend Dana McClendon. He's a lawyer down in the Nashville, Tennessee area, and he authored this. And hairdressers are people who are in the danger zone. So if you've not seen it, check it out. Don says, I remember coming home from Mississippi when I was 19. Mom had me get a haircut before we got to the house. 1984. Crystal says, I rarely feel it. Well, yeah, but still, I can't stand to have like anything in my ears or my teeth. I can't imagine having like a piece of steel in my nose all the time. That'd be weird. But hey, you do you. Danny Boyd says, I'm the most non-freak guy, yet I attract pretty much only freaky women. Whatever works for you. But if you watch The Matrix, you'll realize where you want to be on that matrix, right? The brightly colored hair is a warning. It can be. Dougster says, my mom was a hairdresser, and yes, my mom's a little crazy. German lady. Well, according to the chart, all women are at least a 4 crazy anyway. The scale's only 4 to 10 on the crazy, so. Brightly colored hair is a warning. I was at Dairy Queen getting some ice cream a couple of days ago, and this woman had this little brindle pit bull. It was adorable. Wish I had a picture of it. A brindle pit bull. I don't think I've ever seen one before, but she had this teal green hair. Whatever. That dog was so cute though. Hopped up, put his paws up on the edge of my table. Didn't have Jethro with me. That wouldn't have gone over well at all, but whatever. Thumper says the crazy ones really like me. The less crazy ones don't. Probably because I am short. Lithium will destroy your kidneys. Okay. Tuxer said his mom had really long hair when she dated his dad, but his dad's hair was longer. My dad never believed in. There were things my dad just absolutely did not believe in. Long hair was high on the list. In my dad's opinion, men should not have long hair, should not have earrings, should not wear shorts, should not wear pink, and should not carry umbrellas. There's 5 things just revoked your man card in my dad's world. Right there. Kim's the man card. Yeah. You know, they issue those things, right? It's like a little ID you carry in your pocket. No. No, that's the way he was. And I've never been big into wearing shorts. I wear shorts in the gym usually, but then I even got away from that. I'd wear my track pants in the gym. But I had a dress shirt one time that was, it was kind of, I was told it was coral. It wasn't quite pink, but it was close enough that Dad gave it the side eye. Dakota only gets about 2 haircuts a year, not because I like longer hair just to save money. Oh gosh, I can't stand my hair gets that shaggy. That kind of need one now. I don't like it when I get fender skirts going on, so kind of deal with that. Dougster said his dad got a haircut in 1980. I remember. My dad would get 50 cents a week allowance when he was a kid in the 50s. And he had to get a haircut every week. That was a thing, right? And if he would go during the week, a haircut was 25 cents at the old crosstown or downtown barbershop. And then he still had 25 cents left over, and a banana split at the soda fountain where the barbershop was just down the street was 26 cents. All you have to do is come up with another penny and he could have a haircut and a banana split. But if you waited till the weekend, because of the demand, the haircuts were 50 cents on the weekends. Saturdays, of course. Nothing was open. The world shut down on Sundays back then. So he said if I dallied around and didn't get my haircut, he said I would have to spend 50 cents, couldn't get a banana split. Kim says, real men do whatever they want. Confidence trumps all. Yeah, I don't ask permission for most stuff. I just try to be a lawful person. Let's see. Here's the endless energy of Levi, according to Ron Ward. Got the Laguna running today. Super excited to get things lined out on the dyno. I am too. I want to see you run a 5 at the No Name Nationals. I think it's going to happen. Dougster says, I missed the world shutting down on Sunday. Me too. I liked the world when it wasn't in as big of a hurry. I really did. I liked it when business stopped at 5 for everybody because you didn't have email, you didn't have internet, you didn't have cell phones, and business just stopped. It was better for us. We slept at night. The world was better when it worked that way. And because everybody had to do the same, there was no disadvantage in business or anything like that. It was better. We had families ate dinner together and everything because the world had a time when business shut down and so forth. Everything like this business, I think it's buffering. I don't like this business where the world's just kind of 24 hours now. It's slower in some ways that are even any 24-hour Walmart stores. It's not slower. It's just there's some businesses that made that decision. Permission is for wives and girlfriends. You want to bet? They hold the cards, man. Life was better. Yes, it was. Danny Boyd says, I like 24-hour AutoZones back when I stayed up all night and slept all day. I'm going to tell you now, it would be really nice to have one 24-hour parts store so that when you're pulling that late night thrash and there's that one thing that you need, you've got it. That would be nice. Yeah, Don says, Levi, you got a few things to learn, young grasshopper. Yeah, I know. Levi's comment is quite amusing. Those wags, I'm going to get your permission for squat. Dougster says, Danster, back in the day, my area had a 24-hour AutoZone. We were there quite a bit. Yeah, I've heard. I think we had a 24-hour Advance Auto in Roanoke at one time, but I was never there. Or at least I wasn't there at night, so I don't even know which one it was. Kim says the pile of parts out back is the all-night parts store. Yeah, and that's helpful, but I mean, there's nothing like you're doing a job, and let's say you need something silly like a crush washer or something. Something you can just go right in there and get off the shelf, but you can't because the parts weren't open till morning, and you got to get on the road in the morning and all that. Levi said, I can't say life was better because I wasn't there, but I'd rather not have to do so much to earn a living like dealing with people who want something for nothing. I have to slow down and read that one again. Well, it's not so much that. It's just that, like business for me is all the time. It's like people talking about how awful it is to work on Sundays. I've been working on Sundays for 22 years. I mean, it's just the way it is. Unfinished Project said, new sign on Greensboro, Napa today, reduced weekday hours, no Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, and a lot of that's things like labor costs and stuff like that. So, yeah. Levi says, I have everything to learn and little to forget. Don says, everyone is looking for the Buddy Price. Yes, they are. Speaking of the Buddy Price, it's a good time for me to mention it. If you guys have not yet registered for the No Name Nationals, you are missing out on your deals at Edelbrock, your Edelbrock incentives. That is serious, guys. You can more than pay for your entry fee off what you save buying stuff directly from Edelbrock. Our concierge, Alex So, it's a good deal. I'm telling you. I mean, you can buy one carburetor from them and get enough discount to more than pay for your No Name Nationals registration. Levi says, Brooke says, I've been working Sundays as long as she's been alive. Yes, exactly. It's 2003. I mean, it's not consistently. Like, I'm not working. Well, I'm working on my rental house this Sunday. How about that? Sort of am. Mopar Jeff 604. How's it going, sir? I love that. I tell you what, I've always got to click on it when you come into the chat just to see that wheel stand and duster. Unfinished Project said, I'd much rather pay full price to my buddies and support their business than trying to get a discount. Yeah, I would agree with that. I like to patronize the people who are doing it right here in America, hiring Americans. Those are the people where I want to spend money. Cave Dave is here. How's it going, sir? Kim's asking, who's live after me? I have no idea. I'm live from 8 to 10 and then tapping out. Although I am going to do a firearm training live here very shortly, probably sometime in May. And I'll do a giveaway on it. Those are fun to do. I don't want to do them too often, but and it won't be on a Friday. It'll be midweek. Colleen says cars don't break down on the clock. They don't break. Well, everything happens on the clock, but it's not ever at a convenient time. Mean Street Mopar. If you've not seen Mean Street Mopar's latest, he's got 2 transmissions, and he gives you a little overview of the 18 spline and 23 spline 833 Mopar 4-speeds. He's got a pair of them. He shows you where some of the numbers are. It's a good video, actually. So, hey, Unfinished Project, do you think you could grab that a link to Mean Street Mopar's videos that he put out? I think it was just today. And he's got 2 transmissions there, an 18 and a 23. You see them side by side. There aren't a lot of videos like that. I thought it was pretty cool. And he was soliciting feedback, so. Danny Boyd says, if you have to ask, it's you. Usually the people who it's them don't even think to ask. Dougster says, shrewd negotiations, pay them what they want. I got to tell you, most of the time, people who are trying to get a little bit off of everything don't realize there's probably a few things that even though they're at a discount, they're wasting money on in the first place. But overall, it's usually not the best strategy. It's usually the thing they shouldn't be buying at all, no matter how good the deal on it is. Danny Boyd said, I can nurse some hurt cars through the clock. Yep. Junkyard D, this is a great place to ask a question like this. What's the best way to remove a camper shelf from an RV? In city limits, so tannerite probably not the best. That is a great question to ask here, Junkyard D, because I'm sure a bunch of these guys have done exactly that. I would ask Barrows. I know he's done it. Racer Ray there's done it. Several guys are good to ask that question. There we go. We got Lars puts up a link to Mean Street. That's Mean Street Short, but this was a video. This was more than a short. I believe Unfinished Projects got the link on that. Thank you, guys. Well, thank you kindly. That was a good video. I don't know what this is Levi has, but he says a nut has broken off flush. Yuck. Dakota says I'm a pretty good haggler. I totally believe that. Copper wire got invented when Dakota and his brother were fighting over a penny one time. Dougster says, I destroyed a 71 Dodge Travco motorhome just for the 413 high output engine. All right, Dougster, what was the best way to do it? Crystal says low-lying bridges, and hers might get you in trouble, though. I think everything Crystal does would get someone in trouble. Something tells me that Mohawk probably has an enormous amount of life insurance. Dakota says, I'm a good gambler, too. Nobody at work will take me up on any bets. Well, how it makes you a good gambler. If they won't take you up on the bet, how can you be a good gambler? You're not making anything. The best gamblers are people who don't gamble. See? Unfinished Project says, I've done several mobiles with just hand tools. It sucks. Yeah, I'm sure it does. Because they know I don't lose. I'll tell you what. The house always wins. They didn't build those big fancy casinos on the strip, you know, with taking chances. And the casinos, a lot of people don't realize the casinos don't gamble their own money. They let you gamble yours. They're not gambling theirs. Their cut's going to be secure. Levi says, Dakota, you should bet on Joe winning our race. You know what? I bet Dakota probably would. Lone Wrench Garages. I'm late, but I'm here. If you guys have not yet checked out Lone Wrench Garage's channel, please do so. He's running the No Name 500, and I'm telling you, dude, it's 145 days, 2 hours, and 21 minutes until the 4th annual AHRA No Name Nationals, and it is time to step it up. So step it up. We'll share your content. Let's get close. We'll have a 500 party for you. You can absolutely do it. There's plenty of time, but time to rock out. Yeah, just after the engine training. That's the truth with these old RVs. Colleen says, I would say a Sawzall, but I don't know how efficient or effective. I'll tell you what I think might work pretty good. This might sound crazy, and I don't know. If you had the right chain, a chainsaw might actually be pretty good. I don't know what kind of reinforcements they put in the sides of those RVs, because you wouldn't want the chain to kick back on you, but it could be. Sawzall for sure. The big old thick blade on it, yeah. Cave Dave says, I don't gamble because I lose at a lot of sure things. Yeah. I'm $10 up on slot machines in Las Vegas because I found 2 $5 bills on the ground underneath the one of them one time in the airport and never played one. So Dougster says it was steel reinforced fiberglass, just a Sawzall and demolition blades cut into small enough pieces for one man handling and one to take to the dump and get rid of it. Yeah. Yeah, that would be a job for just a trailer and put it all on there. And we have a transfer station here. So, see, this is what they do, though. If you go to the Mercer County landfill, which is a neighboring county in West Virginia, where anybody can dump, if you had to get rid of a dead body, that'd probably be the place to do it, because they don't care what you do there. They just have like a hillside. You're literally just pushing stuff off your trailer over. But if you go here to Montgomery County, it's really nice, and they have a loading dock at the transfer station. The problem is the loading dock is higher than the floor of my trailer. So if I lay the gate down, it's at a little bit of an angle uphill, which makes it really hard to get rid of stuff like that. Just fiberglass, just trash from an RV like that. So to me, having that is no good at all unless you have like a moving truck or something to take up there. You sure don't want to bag all that stuff. My gosh. Imagine trying to bag all that. And the stuff is so full of chemicals, you don't want to burn it. Levi suggests cut the front end out and use a cherry picker. Yeah, maybe. There's a lot of guys that do it that way. But remember, on those motorhomes, the engine sits up underneath the cowl. So that might be kind of hard. Although, you know, probably the way to do it on one of those is take the windshield out. Since you're scrapping it all anyway, take the windshield out, take your Sawzall and cut out your cowl. Then you could probably do it that way. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Danny Boyd says, sometimes I would bet against myself playing pool in a bar when I thought I wouldn't be able to make a shot. Where do you get these crazy ideas, Danny Boyd? I don't want to know. Lone Wrench Garage says, I gained 2 new subs this week. Hey, let me tell you, it starts slow and then it picks up. So, but yeah, go check out what he's doing. He's got a nice A-Team tribute van over there. Cool guy. I'm looking forward to him getting it done, but just step it up. And I'll tell you, for you guys that are struggling to get your subs, make shorts. Make shorts, because shorts are like a little commercial meme for your channel. And you might do 10 of them that don't do much, and you might have one that just boom, takes off, get you a bunch of subs. So those shorts will help you. We're going to do a content creator workshop on the shorts very soon. One-Eyed Cat suggests Sawzall, chop saw, and a couple of buddies. What do we use chop saw for? Just cutting down the lengths of reinforcement for the fiberglass? Ooh, wow. Danny Boyd says, I Sawzalled a couple old mattresses yesterday. Ooh, that had to be rough. Sawzall and something like that. Rainy day helps the dust control. You know what? That's a great point. Doing that on a rainy day wouldn't be bad. I'm afraid it would kill the chainsaw blade. That's why I'm saying I don't know what's in that, but an old junk blade, you might be able to just rock through that. I don't know. I'd be more afraid of it kicking back. Many bodies in our landfill. I think they take animal carcasses. Some of these. Mohawk suggesting charity to use a big sledge. That's all right. Let's see here. Dokester says, pull out the drive line any way you want, but you still have to process the carcass. Most scrap guys don't want. Oh, yeah. They don't. Levi says, we all have a solution, and in the end, it's whatever works best for you. Yeah, well, I mean, it's good, though, to ask people who've done it, because they usually have found mistakes that you don't have to repeat. They can tell you about. The One-Eyed Cat says, I took a picture of my Valiant next to the RV the motor came out of, kept the odometer from it, 11,260 miles. Doubt it rolled over to 111. He said, yeah, probably. I'd say you're right. Levi, that's true for all of us, man. True for all of us. We get the test first and the lesson after. Junkyard D says, Scrapyard won't take the frame until the shell is removed. Landfill will charge $500 for disposal of the RV. If I cut and trailer, it's charged by the ton. Yeah, I remember what it is per ton here. It's like $65 a ton here for brush, 80 for contractor demolition debris. So Kim's going to be live a half hour, well, 10:30 Eastern or 9:30 Central. We may go live just a little longer. We'll see. I mean, got a pretty good crowd in here. Unfinished Project says only 21 Saturdays until the No Name Nationals in 2025. I'll take his word for it. Sounds about right. Dougster kept the odometer as well, 97,000 on my 413. I had one of my classmates see that. I said, "Yeah, I used the old school bus from our high school for the live tonight." I got some feedback on that. Lone Ridge Garage says, "Thanks for the subs, everyone. Much appreciated." Yeah, man. Hey, you're doing great. It's hard to get started. The first 100 subs are going to be harder than the next 100 subs, and then your first 250 are going to be a lot harder than your second 250. And you'll get to 500. Once you get to 500, get the monkey off your back, you'll get to 1,000 like that. So, just how it goes, man. But you just got to stay after it. Dougster says it's also a Dodge Swiftline style speedometer and dash auto shifter too. Danny Boyd says, when I rehabbed my house, I didn't make one single trip to the dump. I brought it all to the dumpster at work. Bet they loved you for that. Oh my gosh. Blue Brick Garage's battery's just about dead. Have a good weekend, everyone. By the way, the Lindbergh Cruise in South County, St. Louis is tomorrow. Lots of mayhem. You know what? Speaking of that, I haven't taken my dad's Jeep out in about 2 years. But there is a Jeep show on May 10th in Botetourt County. And I think now I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to go to Bluefield tomorrow. I'm taking Saturday off, and then I'm going to throw the house at working in the place in Tazewell Monday, Tuesday. I'll come back Sunday, Monday. I got a class here on Tuesday, but then I got a few days I'm going to be here. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'll be here. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the old Jeep out. I'm going to, do all the things we do, oil the cylinders, charge the battery, all that good stuff. The brake on the rear driver's side is dragging pretty bad. I noticed that last time I drove it. Why, I don't know. But I'm going to do that and get it ready for a little road trip about 50 miles from here to the Jeep show. So, who knows? I may even go live while I'm working during the week. I don't know. But we'll do something on it. You guys tend to like the Jeep content. I don't do it often, but you like it when I do. So, Lone Ridge Garage says posted 2 new videos this weekend, 2 shorts. Cool. Yeah, check it out. Cool guy, and he's got to get the thing moving pretty good. Once he gets it moving good, he'll be rolling. He'll be off the races. He's got good stuff going on over there. Kim says, got to be doing stuff and making content to grow. That is correct. And so even if you don't like your first videos, go ahead and make them. Go ahead and post them, because good videos only follow bad videos. Nobody's first videos are nearly as good as the, so make your video, wait for it to finish buffering, and then put them out. But the thing is you'll get better. More and more people will come see you, and you'll get seeing keep somebody from getting 500 subs. Let's see. Quitting is the only thing. I don't know if it was buffering on me. Quitting is the only thing I've ever seen keep somebody from getting their 500. Main Street Mopars found a B-body 8 3/4 for sale not far from me. Bulked in for my Diplomat. Decent price. Snag it. But I would get that Diplomat running and driving first, because if you go ahead and pull that out, now you got one more hurdle to getting it to Sykeston in 145 days and 2 hours and 9 minutes. So I'd snag it, but I would wait until you get it running. And I would say the first order of business is get that car running, driving, brake, stop, steer. I'd do that first. We really want to see you get your car there. And if you get that, if the more you work on that car and get it closer and closer there, Ken, you're going to get your subs. You are so close. This is your year. Just don't quit. You'll get it. You watch. You're going to have one day when you just say, oh my gosh, I'm over 400 subs. I don't know how it happened. And then you're going to watch it go to 420 and 40 and 50. And then I'm going to be calling you up for a 500 party. And then it's on like Donkey Kong. Danny Boyd says, wouldn't mind seeing some chrome wagon wheels in that Jeep. I actually gave Dad for Christmas one year a set of the white Jeep factory wagon wheels. And Jeep wagon wheels are a little different. They're radiused at the top. And that's the Jeep one. They were pinstriped, looked really good. And I gave him a set of those with some nice 31-inch tires. And he drove them forever like that. And then he got so weird about, he thought those tires were too big. So he goes and puts these old man 235s back on it. Just the way, he had so many of those little things. You just have to know him. Drive Dad's Jeep. I'm going to. It's road legal. I got to do a little bit of brake work on it. And it really needs a clutch bad. And I just don't know if I feel like diving into the clutch on that thing to get it done by April. Let's get it done by May 10th. Dakota says there's a couple of computer monitors in our dumpster at work, so they have good in them, like folks say. Yeah, you're not supposed to put those in the dumpster at work because of the stuff that's in the monitors. Yeah, you're not going to take. I wouldn't have said that they're in there. I'd just kind of let those go and not done it again. Ginger Vance says, hello, howdy. Thanks for joining us. Like the green avatar there. Mohawk says, got his new studio cleaned out, needs to start painting. Right on. $500 party, I'm there. Exactly. Mater says I'm putting out with only having one good hand. I don't know what that means, Mater, but you need some context on that pronto. Levi says, I've actually stopped YouTube for about a month or two now. I've been the best for my mental health and wallet. Okay. Well, glad you're here tonight. How about that? Videos. Okay. There you go. I kind of needed that. Yeah, so Lars has a link to the video about my dad's Jeep. I filmed that 18 days or 17 days before he died. And he didn't want me to publish it because, get this, he was afraid with it being on YouTube, somebody would be calling him. He didn't want people calling him. It's like, that's not how that works. But anyway, I had it all done and it was unlisted. And the day he died, I stuck a tribute slide to him at the end and posted it. And it's been a super popular video, but yeah, check that out. The Jeep has only been driven a couple of times since he died, and I think I'm going to get it out and take it to that show on the 10th of May at Lord Botetourt High School in Daleville, Virginia. Parked Up Garage says, is Grand Pito Vic in here? I have not seen him. But thank you for stopping by Parked Up Garage. Yep, Mrs. One-Eyed Cat says, I'll be there for the 500 suds if I have to work. Yeah, well, let me tell you. Yeah, the 500 party, everybody gets $500. Yep, if you're funding it, that sounds awesome. But no, it's always great, and you just got to get a little closer. We can't help you from 340 or whatever, but get up above 450, and we'll start planning it. Besides, you guys, you earn them, and then that last one is just that last little bit of exposure to make it happen. Levi said it's helped me to get more done on each of my projects. I agree with that. Lars wants to know what kind of album we're attending. What kind of album we're recording. I got attended. Bluegrass, he suggests Don does. It isn't my party, John. Well, okay. I didn't say it was. Crystal says this new room will have plenty of room for you, Lars, Mohawk, and JB to play the Three Stooges. I can see Lars and JB coming to play the Three Stooges, Mohawk's place. Yeah. The camera does get in the way. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. What happened to the C.D. Hubbard video? Should be on my channel. Are you talking about the one of his shop tour, or are you talking about the one from his demolition derby? Which are you talking about? Hey, Mr. Lars, can you send me a link to Noah's channel? Because I'm watching through StreamYard and I can't grab it. If you don't mind, send that to me, because if it's the one from the old podcast I co-hosted, that one's probably been privatized anyway or been unlisted or something. So I can still get it to him. But if you're talking about the one from the demo derby, that one's got to still be public on my channel. I still get notifications where people watch it. All right, Dakota, be good, man. Cope in the house, wearing the CRT valve body shirt for the valve body king of Chicago, Mr. Froman himself. If you have not yet gotten your CRT shift pack to make your 727 or 904 a happier transmission, you should. That's a very worthwhile thing to do. I've actually recommended that to about 2 or 3 people this week. You need a shift kit, and that's a good one to get. And if you can do a carburetor, you can do a valve body. I put those about the same. That's Abe Froman. Well, it's Cope Froman, the valve body king of Chicago. Cathode ray tube is here. Yeah, critical race theory, cathode ray tube, Cope Racing Transmissions. Take your pick. Cope slides in here 3 minutes till time to go so that he doesn't get subjected to too much of this nonsense. It's like overlap. People who don't watch the sitcom before but watch the sitcom after. Cope never misses Buff and Kim's live, so he just comes in for the last few minutes of mine and heads over there. One-Eyed Cat has a home-built shift kit. Makes me happy. Actually, what Don has is the CRT shift pack. It's just that Don has it before it was offered to the public in the form of a kit. But that's exactly what Don has. Danny Boyd said, I did my first carb rebuild with no internet, had a couple of magazines with carb rebuild articles. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I mean, I did my first carb rebuild before the internet too. In fact, I don't think I've ever used the internet for a carb rebuild. By the time the internet was really a popular thing, I had a few of those. I'd done enough hollies that, it was pretty good. I could do just set line out parts, the diagrams, and so forth. Lars puts up a link to the American Hot Rod Association channel. Yes, so if you guys have not checked that out, Tech Talk Live on Wednesdays with Dallas and Professor P, and that's on Wednesdays. Dallas has got a lot of good stuff going on. It's a good time to be checking out his channel. Cope did a drive to the lake. Just got here. Mrs. One-Eyed Cat, do you still have your dad's Jeep? Yes, I do. And were you not in here? I'm going to be driving it to a Jeep show, I believe, on the 10th of May. Mohawk says, you think John will put a coat on as much as he's been freezing tonight? Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Old McDonald says, by the time the internet was perfected, I was already an old man. The internet's got its place. What can I say? There's things that it's great and we take for granted and we wouldn't have without it, but the world got in a big old hurry because of it, and I think we're better off. I would rather live in the time before the internet, because when nobody had the internet. But now we know what we know. We can't go back. So Danny Boyd said, I was alive when Al Gore invented the internet. Me too. This is what happens. You see, you guys don't realize I got two screens going in here. So this is the one that I watch, and we conduct the live. And then the one that sometimes cracks me up and get unsolicited stuff is down here. So Mohawk thinks that I just do that to him, but that's not true. I don't just dish it and can't take it. Thumper says I made a mistake once taking quartz for granted. Oh, Thumper, for that one right there, you're getting this. Here you go. Another fun live. But yeah. I decided not to go, cold turkey at 10 because Buff and Kim aren't on for a few. So we'll stick around for just a few minutes. We'll stick around until about 10:15, 10:20. So because we just have a big crowd in here. So this is your chance to just heckle and whatnot freestyle for a few more minutes. But I'm going to be having I still got to get the details worked out, but I'm going to be doing an interview style live with our director of tech, Deke Denny, the AHRA tech inspector and tech inspector for the No Name Nationals. He's going to be a live stream guest with me, and it's going to be, now we normally have Deke on to do tech, and we're going to have him on to do tech. Don't worry about that. That'll happen. We do it every year. But I'm going to have him on for a different kind of live where we talk about his biography, because a lot of people just don't know that Deke, that guy's a car builder. He's worked in the shop, a racer. Deke has a really interesting history of building stuff and doing stuff. And we're going to have a live with lots of old pictures and talk about, what he did. So we're also going to do one of that style with just Mopar Joe. That one I've been wanting to do for years, and Joe says, I owe you that one. Yeah, Joe don't owe me anything. Joe's awesome, but we're going to make that happen with Joe, and he's going to be great. We're going to have several people from our community in interview style lives, and I think those are just going to be a lot of fun. Noah's asking, do you see Uncle Tony around anymore? Not really. I probably, we message each other once or twice a year, maybe. It's all good. Danny Boyd says, we had an Apple II and a modem, but I couldn't figure it out back then. Well, see, consolation, I can't figure it out now. Parked Up Garage. Where do you get that name? Tell us what Parked Up Garage means. Mexican Spec is asking about the revived battery. That battery, it had, I don't know that it ever really was all it should be. I still have it. Maybe, you know what? Maybe we should get that out and do another revival on that battery. Maybe we should. Maybe we should do one more revival and call it the Sink or Swim Revival. I'll get input from all of you guys. We'll do a little experiment on it. See if we can get some more service out of it or if it goes for poor. How's that? Danny Boy says it's hard to mess up potatoes. Depends how much hairspray you put in the potato launcher. Parked Up Garage says everything I have is parked up around the shop waiting on me to fix it. Is that your Humvee in your thumbnail there, Parked Up Garage? I did a video on my uncle's Humvee. He has a military Humvee. It's road legal too. You don't see many of those, and it's on my channel. It's a good video. It's a fun video with my uncle. Yes, it is. Cool. Yeah. If you want to see, my uncle's is an 89, and he's there in Central Tennessee, and we take it out on the road and run around in it, and it's pretty cool. It's a cool video. Check it out. I wanted to do one with my uncle and one with my dad because I said, these are things you need to do while we still have them here. And then Dad died 17 days after we did the one with him and his Jeep. Yeah, I remember that, Don. I think that about gave Tony a stroke, actually. There we go. Look at Lars. Lars and UP are quick on the trigger. There's the video for my Uncle Jim and his Humvee. You don't even have to look for it, Parked Up Garage. There it is. It would be cool to see a Hummer go down the track at Sykes. And I totally agree. Parked Up Garage, how many subscribers do you have, sir? And would you like to bring that 7-foot wide beast to Missouri? Two good questions we have there. It's usually not hard to find a video on my channel because this channel is mostly a live stream product. So I have a lot of videos, but most of them are 28 subs. Okay, you can still do it. You only need 472 more between now and September 19th? Isn't that what it is? I don't even remember. I always know it by that. $28 subs. I remember I believe it was in 2020, I had a 1,000 subscriber live stream. I did my first live stream because back then you had to have 1,000 subs, and I had to have 1,000 subs for that. And I streamed, and I did some giveaways on it, and I did it from my shop, which was kind of a technical disaster, but whatever. Your first stream's always like that. So I've been streaming live consistently since 2020, and yeah, man, wow. Hundreds and hundreds of streams later, here we are. Parked Up Garage says, no worries, I can always just go watch. Well, you go watch the first year, you'll be hooked and want to be participating the second. Here we go. Lars has got a link to a video that says Parked Up Garage Corvette Shop Burnout Video. If you don't want to see a Corvette shop burnout video, there is something wrong with you. So go check that. Hey, you know what? One of you guys go watch it real quick and report back. Give us, look at the spot we're putting Parked Up Garage in right now. So I'm giving some homework to people in the chat. Go watch Parked Up Garage's video, Corvette shop burnout, and report back. Let us know in the chat what you thought about it. 38 Racing wants to know where you're from. Yes, where are you from that you have a Humvee and do a Corvette burnout in your shop? Salisbury, North Carolina. Right on. Home of Bullet Bob Reed. I miss old Bob Reed. They don't make them like that anymore. I got a video on my channel of Bullet Bob Reed at Farmington. Got the open face helmet on, wearing the cowboy boots, cigarette hanging out of his lips, making a pass in his super stock Barracuda. They just, I mean, they just don't, they're not like that anymore. Okay, Peckerwood Customs Aaron, who hails from the burnout capital of the world, probably Australia, says it's an awesome burnout. So that's high praise coming from a guy with high standards for burnouts, Aaron Henry. So we're already getting good feedback. So check out Parked Up Garage. See what he's all about. See if he earned your subs. Here's a link to my video for Bullet Bob Reed. He was such a cool guy. And Bullet Bob Reed was not afraid to do just some rough and tumble work. Noah just says ho. Ho hoo. Don't need any hoes in here. Home of Cheerwine. There we go. Okay. He now has another subscriber. That was a lot of smoke. Okay, I'm getting good feedback. Yeah, don't come in here telling us about a burnout video if it sucks. Johnny C sneaked in here about, yeah, apparently he did. Very smoky. Howdy. Johnny C. Oh, look at that. You can catch the corner of my monitor there. Huh. Danny Boyd with a very Danny Boyd-like comment says, Salisbury tastes great, Hotchkiss less filling. Yeah, we must be starting to delve into the weird hour now because we're starting to get comments like that. Unfinished Project said Jennings got a 1914 Buick running, his oldest one yet, sat for 85 years. I have the absolute ultimate will it run if I ever decided to try it. And I seriously doubt it would happen. I have a 37 Packard engine that's been sitting in a tree line for, it has to be 50 or 60 years. Just the engine in the elements in a tree line of pines. It would be like the square root of amazing if I were to see if I could make that thing run. Now, I mean, it's a flathead, and I'm guessing, I'm just sit here and walk through this thing. I'm guessing the valves that are open, those cylinders are probably just like tree bark rust inside. But I don't know. With enough Marvel Mystery Oil and acetone and ATF and whatever and working it back, do you think we could actually free that thing up and make it run? I'd venture to say it needs a carburetor kit. Dean, that is flat disturbing. Johnny C said, where there's smoke, there's subscribers. Yes. Ramwin parked 85 years ago. That's right. Dingleball home. For something like that, yeah. I wouldn't fix stone anything like that. But I wouldn't hone. That's it defeats the purpose. Then you're getting into the expense of actually doing a rebuild. I would just flicking grease on fire. I don't know. It's one of those things just so far down the list. I'd have to want to more get into wanting to do the rebuild. V8 or inline 8. It's an inline. Yep. It's my grandfather's. And where this thing is, no one would ever know it's there. So I don't have to worry about the Scrap Bandit trying to get it. Scrap Bandits have gotten kind of lazy where I'm from anyway. Oh, wow. 38 knows where there's a Franklin air-cooled sitting in the dirt. That's the engine they put in the Tucker. That's pretty wild. Heavens Mopar says, just subbed. You obviously don't have smoke detectors in your garage. I don't want smoke detectors anywhere. I hate those things. I'm going to tell you, if there was such a challenge for that, 38 Racing would win it. I think Ray could do better with that than anybody. I should have done it with this Chevy truck. If there's a video on my channel about my friend Jared and I getting parts for his 78 C20 that he bought. It was an old sign shop truck. And the guy that he bought it from sincerely believed, oh, that motor's good. It came out of, I don't know, Caprice or something. And I told him, I said, well, it ran when parked, but this thing had gotten water down in, and it had an air filter on it. It had gotten water down in. No, it didn't. I think it had an air filter base just laying on the intake with no carburetor. Anyway, whatever it was some kind of cover that wasn't nearly enough. We pulled the drain plug out of the engine, and I bet a gallon of water came out. And I said, well, there you go. That ain't going to happen. You can file it under A for ain't happening. But what I should have done is we should have just, put some oil in the cylinders and worked on it, because I actually got it to where it would turn. That'd have been kind of neat just to see if it'd fire up. Just a small block Chevy, but yeah, it's a mess. Crystal Kilgore says, I hate smoke detectors that go off all at the same time throughout the entire house. Yeah, they're supposed to by code. They're supposed to. The idea is that you can have smoke inhalation in one part of the house, even if it's not on fire. I'm sure that this house that I'm in right now had smoke detectors until whenever the batteries went out. And that was that. I seriously doubt I have a working smoke detector in here. And that's perfect for my Federal Pacific stab lock breaker boxes. Danny Boy put hardwired interconnected smokes and seals in my house already. Well, that's really smart. That's a really smart way to do it. I remember a buddy of mine one time, we went to a race. I think it was at Bristol. And his brother watches this sometimes. So, Billy, if you're watching. We went to a race at Bristol. We checked in the motel room, and he hears this smoke detector beeping. He takes an empty beer bottle and just wham, knocks the smoke detector off the wall. No, stab locks, yes. I have 2 breaker boxes full of them. I really need to get a thermal heat indicator down there to see. It's the only thing I have that has Federal Pacific in. I have the worst, oldest breaker box. Anything I have is the house I live in. Yeah, that's right. Everything else has a better breaker box than right here. I got a nice, I think it's a Cutler hammer in one. I got a nice square D in another. An Eaton in one. I mean, they're all nicer, newer, except this one. This has got the stab locks in it. Yeah, I don't follow any of that Pope stuff. When they choose Keith Richards as the new Pope, Bud Smoke will be used. Yeah, Keith Richards is going to outlive us all. Danny Boyd says there's an electrical supply house here, and they have an active Federal Pacific box in their showroom and lobby. Yeah, I could see that. Federal Pacific was it was a bad idea. Federal Pacific stab lock breakers are kind of like padded toilet seats and legal paper and computer controlled carburetors and other double action, single action pistols and other things that are failed evolutionary steps. That's what the Federal Pacific breaker box is. And all those things, I'm sure, have their fanboys who are wrong. Because the world revolves around people who are wrong on the internet. What would we do if it weren't for people who are wrong on the internet? Residential aluminum wiring. Yes, there's another horrible idea. There's nothing worse than the aluminum wire that the Chevys had in them in the 80s. And like everybody else, I found out about that stuff by accident. There was a wire that wasn't behaving like a wire, and it was in the trunk of it was an 80-something Pontiac. And then I had a guy tell me, oh, yeah, they made that wire out of aluminum. That's why it doesn't bend, and it's weird. And yeah, I need to rewire a little tag trailer I have out here, a little 10-footer. And it just needs to be rewired. Cave Dave said we had a minor fire at the house. My German Shepherd woke us up 15 minutes before the smoke alarm went off. Dogs are good like that. Mine would tell me if something's wrong. Cutter Down Garage 303 says, I set the fire alarms off last Saturday, draining the air compressor. How did you do that? How does that happen? Danny Boyd says, aluminum wire gets soft when it gets hot and can compromise the connection, which causes resistance, which causes heat, which causes a house burning down? I don't know. Well, you got aluminum wire going out to your electrical service on your houses. Scotch locks on the GM aluminum wire for trailer lights, good times. Yep, that's hot, rotten, garbage wiring for sure. I'm trying to decide what kind of wiring harness I want to do on this little trailer. I'm debating just making it, but I don't know. We're going to be live for just a few more minutes, and then we're going to hand off to Team Del Campo / Fixes Things. Resistance is an impedance to success, indeed. Phone is dying later all. I charge my phone before every live stream for that very reason. Because I got to have my operatives down here and my YouTube people's up here. See? Got 2 screens running. One day I need to do a behind the scenes to my live streams and show you guys like on a separate, like what's going on here and on my phone and all that. And you can see things like Lars will sometimes text me your unfinished project, what's going on, something if I need it, or people will send me links to put up on the screen and you can see my camera and lights and all that. I should do that sometime. I just never do. Buff says, thanks for the push. Hey, you know, you guys do a good show over there, and I figured we'd go live until we're 5 minutes up against your show. Do you have a link for Heaven's Mopars? Yes. If one of our mods could grab that, that'd be awesome. Heaven's Mopars Scott. Danny Boyd says, I think aluminum wire is okay in a twist connection. So if you pigtail copper to your devices, you should be okay. Yeah, whatever. I'm not an electrical guru. I know enough to be dangerous. Here you go. My Lieutenant Lars has put up the link for Heaven's Mopars. So if you guys are not yet familiar with Heaven's Mopars, go check him out. Scott's got a cool ongoing saga with his garage and his projects and his charger that will be a car again. And go check him out. And one of the nicest people to walk the earth, Scott Schmidt, Heaven's Mopars. He's a good dude. Dean Stevenson says, I'd be worried about that. I've seen what Jethro does when he sees a nice bike. Yeah. Yeah, Jethro, everything with 2 wheels every time. We're going to wrap up. We're going to wrap up here in the next less than a minute. So if you guys have anything else, let us know. If you have not yet registered for the 4th annual AHRA No Name Nationals, there's a link pinned at the top. Do remember when you register early, it helps us. And when you register, you get on the list for Edelbrock incentives. And you can buy 10 to 15% off everything at edelbrock.com. We have our own concierge there, Mr. Alex So. Don't forget to check out Wednesday Night Live Tech Talk on the American Hot Rod Association channel. I'm also going to be doing a content creator workshop in the month of May for all of you No Name 500 hopefuls, but everybody will be welcome there. And I'm going to do a firearm training live sometime midweek just because they seem to be popular. And on that firearm training live, we're going to give away a Cold Steel Spetsnaz shovel. And why does that have anything to do with firearm training? Well, watch the show and you'll find out. But with that, we're at our time. Buff Del Campo and Kim Fixes Things will be live here in 5 minutes. Go over and check them out. And as for me, y'all have a great weekend. I'm out.